So what's up, everybody? It is me, Mike Vanderpool. I am here today. Oh, wait a second. Do we have this thing hooked up? Hopefully we got the right mic here. I mean, I'm the right mic. Is this the right mic? Yes. Microphone here. Mike Vanderpool. Call myself a jerk of all trades. I do a whole bunch of cool stuff. Try to do a whole bunch of fun stuff. Succeed here and there, fail quite often. And that is really what I want to talk to everybody about today in this Ask Me Anything regarding a course I'm doing, Introduction to Design and Technology. And I'm doing this from the Batcave. You may hear my ward upstairs along with my wife and other kids. But right now we are just going to talk about what I think are fundamental pieces of understanding the introduction to design and technology. Again, this course is for anybody and everybody. And before I get too down and dirty with all the details, I'm going to introduce this to our first piece of technology. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. So this is a tool, Fireflies AI, that my friend Keith Instone introduced me to. Keith, user experience designer, all-around great guy, been in the innovation and technology space for a good long time. And one of the meetings he was doing to organize for a UX event used Fireflies AI. And I have since started to play with it. And it is pretty cool. If you are anybody interested in having better collaboration and better meetings, better follow through on conversations that happen in meetings, I'm going to highly recommend Fireflies AI. Now, there are, I'm assuming, other tools out there like this. You may be using something similar. Eventually, Zoom, Google Meets, whatever else is out there, FaceTime, all of these things will likely have these AI tools integrated into them. But I'm going to go ahead and hopefully you can see this. I'm going to add now. And I am going to add in the meeting link for this specific meeting. And I'm just going to grab the link, the invite link. And now I can go back and share my screen. And I will paste the meeting link in here to this meeting. And I'm going to invite Fireflies. So I'm paying for my Fireflies account. And Fireflies has been invited to the meeting. And once joined, Fireflies Note Taker Assistant will automatically start taking notes. So that is a pretty cool thing. I could go through and show maybe some conversations I've had, but probably shouldn't do that based on, confidentiality and working with certain clients and everything else. But what is super, 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 super cool about Fireflies is we'll do a transcript of the meeting and use AI to pull out all kinds of good stuff. Action items specifically. One of the things where I know people get frustrated about meetings, but I think it's, oh, here we go. I'm going to admit Fireflies to the meeting. So I'm going to start all the way over because now that Fireflies is here, we're going to see what notes Fireflies takes, and then I'll be able to share those out. Hey, everybody, it's me, Mike Vanderpool. I'm here today doing an Ask Me Anything around the Introduction to Design and Technology course that I'm building and delivering. What is this course about? Who is it for? Number one, this course is for anyone interested in the future of work and making sure that you've got the foundational skills when it comes to collaborating and using technology to solve problems in a creative way. What does that even mean? If we look around us, you're accessing this content either through YouTube or some other means. We're going ahead and we're going to be communicating and collaborating on some documents that end up being the plans for things that we're going to do. We're going to talk about how planning works and some of the tools that we can use for that. We'll talk about visualization and communication. We'll talk about data, all of these foundational things that really are concepts that you more than likely are going to need to have for not only the future of work, but even the present of work. So anyone who is looking to do fun things, interesting things, creative things, and not creative in just the art sense. I know sometimes people end up thinking that creativity is art or music, but creativity really is. Think about MacGyver, right? You have some constraints. You don't have perfect freedom of doing anything and everything. You've got constraints and limitations of budget, limitations of time. You have to creative problem solve, and that's what we're going to talk about today. How do we solve problems using our creative minds through the process of design and the use of technology? Wow, I should have wrote that down. But you know what? I didn't have to, because Fireflies AI has been invited to this meeting and they're transcribing all of this conversation, everything that we're saying. What's super dope is Fireflies AI will also produce action items based on what it assumes we've talked about. If this was a multi-person conversation, it's people asking questions, me saying, hey, Billy Bob, you're going to go do this. Sally Sue, you're going to go do that. I'm going to take care of this. And I've got a deadline of next week. Fireflies will give us a transcript, summarize all the stuff, and then give us action items at the end, because that's really, when we think about meetings, and I've worked with a lot of people who hate meetings, I think it's both sides of the equation. Number one, people don't come prepared to meetings. Number two, they don't have the clear action items of what they're supposed to do after a meeting. So Fireflies can at least help with one end of that by helping us better outline what we need to do after a meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and share a link out to what Fireflies comes up with here as part of this Ask Me Anything. So we'll just go ahead and share my screen here real quick. We'll probably hang out there in a screen share more than actually hanging out with me. There's my Gmail. We can close that. Yeah, I do stuff on eBay as well. We'll close that. Twitter, we'll close that, and just start with a relatively clean slate here. Fireflies, really, really cool. I was able to add it now to this meeting, and we can see here that it's capturing this meeting. We can also see some other meetings that I've got in my Google Calendar. So I have sunk or synced. What would it be? Sunk or synced? My Google Calendar is syncing with Fireflies. So anytime I create a calendar invitation or a meeting on Google Calendar, it creates that same meeting here in Fireflies and allows the collaboration to be a little bit more seamless between these tools. I think that's a big piece of the puzzle as well, when we look at the world around us and how it's moved from what, heck, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, pre-COVID, when I think most of us just lived in our either Outlook or Gmail. You might have had Google Chat and everything else, but really self-contained. Probably might have had a project management tool. Maybe you used something. Maybe you were on an organization where some people were using Teams and some people were using Google Chat. Maybe you're using like a Trello for project management. Maybe the total number of tools you might have been using was maybe 5. It's blown up, folks. And currently, I'm going to make the assumption that a lot of people are fearful about what the future holds when it comes to technology, specifically because right now, if you look around, this AI thing is pretty big and pretty powerful and can be pretty scary. But as somebody who's been around technology since, when they threw me in front of an Apple IIe computer in grade school, I will tell you this, there's going to be consolidation. And some of these things that are new and shiny today, they're already starting to see how they're being woven into our existing tools. So you're not going to have to worry about keeping up with all of the AI everything, unless you want to build with AI or do cool things, do amazing things with AI, or be on the leading edge of developing AI and with AI. But for those of us that would just like that little bit of extra help, which is what AI is really doing right now, it's providing some extra help. And as an example here, it's providing replacing, hate to say it, but somebody just physically taking notes and then divvying out those action items at the end of it. Those things are going to be woven seamlessly into our existing tools, and we're not going to notice them. 6 months to a year from now, all of these AI things, the number of companies will shrink, and we will be using them without actually really having to think about using them, because they will be integrated into all of our existing everything. So yeah, where ChatGPT is doing its thing and was real exciting for a few months. Google, Apple, Microsoft all have their things that they're rolling out as well. And it's just going to be part of our everyday, kind of like social media became part of our everyday. That's how technology works. Technology, it's a weird word. What does technology even mean? As a pencil technology? was before there was pencils. There's probably still is, right? It's not high tech at this point. Is a computer even high tech at this point? I don't know. But that might be a bigger a bigger conversation. I might need a beverage or two to actually go down that rabbit hole. So instead, let's keep it surface level. Let's keep it chill. Let's keep it cool. And since no one's here to ask me anything, I'm going to make some assumptions. Number one, you're probably like, who is this guy in the orange shirt? Starfight 21 Super Smash Brothers tournament that we put together down in Napoleon, Ohio. Big and bright. And I wore this today because I met with somebody and it was a stranger I only talked to over the phone and virtually. And said, hey, I'll be the guy in the orange shirt. So I was visually communicating who I was, making it easier for somebody to spot me when I'm out and about, right? That's what we want to be able to do. We want to be able to anticipate the needs of others and creatively problem solve to make their life easier. That's really it. That's what, if you look at all the tools that we use, is that a fair statement? Most of the tools that we use, most of the technology we use does make our life better in some way, makes things faster, right? That's the real secret of the internet. The internet has done nothing new. It's just made things faster. So you could be a jerk in real life, but the internet lets you be a jerk to a lot more people a lot faster. Also lets you help a lot more people a lot faster as well. So maybe we should start there with a little bit of theorizing tool theory, which maybe it's something I came up with, maybe it's something I heard, maybe it's something I stole without really knowing it. But I've got a theory that a tool, and that's all the internet is, it's all technology is, it's all ChatGPT is, it's a tool. Its ability, a tool's ability for good is the direct inverse of its ability for evil. I can use a hammer to build a house. I can use a hammer to club somebody over the head. It's all on me. I am the one wielding the tool. I am the one making the decisions of how to use it. And the consequences of what that tool is used for, that lies on me. Now, there is some fear with AI and true AI. I heard a new term to AGI, artificial general intelligence, which I guess is a step above just AI, which seems weird because general you would think would be more broad. But anyway, again, not too deep. But when computers start making decisions, at the end of the day, they're still programmed. They're still given a set of instructions and a sequence of steps to go through. So, all right, enough about that. Let's talk about who I am then. I think I started there, and I'm going to go on lots of tangents, especially now without an audience to direct me, and I don't even know what you want. So tell me what you want, what you really, really want. But these Ask Me Anythings are specifically designed to give some information about this Introduction to Design and Tech course that I'm putting together. So I'm Mike Vanderpool. I have a long history of working in technology, long history of working in design, and also consider myself fairly innovative. I grew up with computers. I know what's inside of this, even though my phone's over there, but pretend my phone's here. I know what's inside of this because I took apart a computer 30 years ago and put it back together. There's a lot of knowledge that people my age have accumulated over the years and understanding around the basics of technology that put us in a position to where we have that solid foundation of how things are organized and structured that makes it easier to add new information onto. Think about it, as studying anything. You have to learn the terms, you have to learn the basic concepts, and then everything else that you add on just is easier because you're more likely familiar with the ecosystem, what things are called, how things are structured in that type of environment. Our kids don't necessarily have that right now. And honestly, people my age and older who weren't that embedded in technology as part of their day-to-day. My career has been in front of a computer almost from jump, right? After high school, in high school, I ended up doing computer-aided design, did some of that after high school, did computer stuff as helping to build some companies, doing some social media things, doing some digital media production. Technology has been woven into my life. And sometimes we take those things for granted. Sometimes as subject matter experts, we have this blind spot because not everybody knows what we know. Not everybody knows what's inside of a computer. So for me to talk about some of those things and how a computer functions and what it produces on our screen here is a part of what's going on under the hood, and it's abstracted away. We can't see it. And that's really where we have to start. We have to start at the very, very beginning, the very, very basics here, because I don't know any other way to do it. If anybody has any ideas, that'd be awesome. But, I can teach you a single tool, and I can help you be proficient with that tool, and you can kick some major butt with that tool. But I will tell you this, someday that tool is going to evolve. Someday that tool is likely to be replaced. Your ability to adapt to evolving tools or new tools is what's going to put you in a position to be best prepared for the future of work. I was fortunate to work with Windows 3.1, my first second job out of high school. Learned a lot there around how operating systems are put together. Had a lot of freedom, a lot of time to play around and do things. I was checking out the internet very early on, not before Yahoo, but there were people on it way before me. If you're interested, a really great movie to watch would be Lo and Behold. I believe it is on YouTube for free. Maybe I'll drop that in a link. Action item. Have me put the link for Lo and Behold in the course notes. Let's go Fireflies. So I've been around technology for a whole long time. I kind of stumbled into design just as a way of getting things done. Also as part of my graduate degree in learning design and technology, learned a lot about constructing learning experiences, which really is just design, and ended up working for a company, online program management company, that was building some curriculum. And one of the first classes I built was a design thinking class using the IDEO design thinking methodology and the book Creative Confidence. It's a really, really, really great book for anybody out there. I should also come with a book list, right? So action item, create a book list, put Creative Confidence at the top. Actually, at the top, put 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, and then Creative Confidence. 2 great books, places I recommend everybody start when it comes to just trying to be a better version of yourself than you were yesterday. Start with 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and then quickly layer on Creative Confidence. So design thinking methodology, learned that. We'll talk a little bit about that today. And we'll also show off some tools here and some ways of thinking about the ecosystem and what we really want to know and do. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up something called Lucid. I'm not sure if anybody's played with Lucid charts yet, but this is a application, and an application really is nothing more than just software. So I can open up lucid.app in my web browser, and I can see a whole bunch of cool stuff here. Projects I've worked on, things I've done over the years, diagrams. I love diagrams. One of the coolest things I've done here recently was playing through the original Legend of Zelda and then diagramming the maps as a way to how we would communicate around designing a level for a game like that. So using some symbols to identify bombable walls, some symbols for locked doors, different rooms with ways to describe what's in those rooms. This would be some type of design document that theoretically, if done well, I could hand this over to a programmer and they could program it. But we're going to go ahead and start with a new document here. And let's think about what we want to do, right? So we're going to say this course, Introduction to Design and Technology. Design and Technology. We'll put that at the top because that's the overarching, that's so not how you spell that word. That's the overarching theme of what we're trying to do here. So one thing I'm going to introduce you to right now is I've got this highlighted, click and draggable like many other applications. And again, this is interesting because once you learn some of these fundamental things, like how to click things, how to select things, how to drag things, how to update things, how to style things, a lot of these tools use the same or similar functions to make that stuff happen. So in this case here, I've got this text, and I want this text to be the heading of my page. Headings are important because it is a visual and also auditorial, for those people using screen readers, way of grouping information. A common design principle is around grouping. So if I have, let's say, Introduction to Design and Technology here, and if I have another one, let's go ahead, I'm going to highlight this, Command C or Control C for copy, and Command V or Control V for paste, depending on which type of computer you're on. If you're on a PC, personal computer, which is a Windows computer, it's Control V and Control C and Control V. Control plus another character being what's called a hotkey. Just makes it easier than dropping down, dragging from a menu, right? People who use computers on the regular and want to go faster use hotkeys, which is a combination of keys to do things. PC/Windows, Control C to copy, Control V to paste. People on a Mac like myself, it's Command C and Control and Command V. Sorry, I will mix them up. I've used a PC and a Mac at the same time, so bear with me. But let's talk about this. I've got two headings here. And a fundamental design concept is this of grouping, right? So maybe I'm going to come in here and I will say, this is the process. And at this point, to which of these does the process belong? Yeah, let's do something like that. Can you tell me? 3.25 inches between each. It could go either way. Now, in Western civilization, or at least the United States, we read left to right. It may be that looking at this intro to design technology, we see that first. Here, some other heading. Since we read left to right, it may be we see this first. So we're going to associate process with this and then move to the next thing. I can understand that. But what about if we do something like this? What if this process or this element gets drug over to this heading? Which heading is this related to now? Well, over here, because of what's called proximity and grouping. So these two things being in closer proximity indicates that they've got a relationship. Similarly, when you see something like a Word document or Google Doc, where you've got your two headings, and you read top to bottom. So logically, it would be what I see up at the top. What's beneath that is underneath it, and is therefore part of it. Does sometimes get a little wonky, whopper-jawed, whatever the term is, when you start to position things closer to that second heading. So this idea of grouping. So how do we group things so that we're able to help identify the relationships between things? Visually communicating, that's something else that's a huge part of this whole introduction to design and technology. So we'll get rid of that though. So this is introduction to technology. We'll put this over top of everything here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to begin with the end in mind. This is from Stephen Covey. Ooh, there we go. This is a tricky thing, folks. You may see this sometimes. I'm going to come in here, I'm going to do this dash. And when I hit the space bar, it automatically goes to a bullet point. That dash is a shorthand for starting an ordered list, which uses bullets. If we just hit Command Z or Control Z, which is the undo key, Control Z, Command Z is undo for almost every single program you'll ever use. So if you screw something up, two things you want to do: Command Z will take you back a step, or sometimes Escape will take you out of that thing and then theoretically undo what you've done. But in this case, we hit Command Z and it brought this back. This is Stephen R. Covey. And because I'm a, see, I did it again. Because I'm a fan of The Office, I'm going to steal, say, begin with the end in mind, Stephen R. Covey, and I'm quoting him here. This is also now a heading 1. Let's go and just change that to a heading 2 by applying the style. You'll notice that the size of that changed slightly. So as we lay out information, we start to do what's called nesting, things inside of things. Think about like your Kitchen, great example. In your refrigerator, you've got 2-3 compartments. You've got your refrigeration space, maybe you've got your meat, fruit, whatever space that my refrigerator has, and then a freezer. 3 different groupings. Then you have shelves inside of there, and on one shelf you maybe put your milk, another or beverages, another shelf that's where your produce goes. That way, what does that do for us? When we have a organized space, it allows us to find things easier and faster. As people who are trying to make things happen in a chaotic, crazy, fast-moving world, finding things quickly helps, because then we don't have to interrupt other people when we're working on a problem. If I know all of my standard operating procedures are stored in a folder here on this drive, I'm able to access them. If I've got some SOPs here, some over there, some in the hamper, some out on the roof, how do you find what you need? Takes longer. Usually I have to ask at least one other person. That takes them away from what they're doing. So becoming an effective person, one of the keys is better organization. The way that we organize is through visual hierarchy, especially in design. So here, this heading 1 is bigger than this heading 2. Now, you may not be able to see it. I'm going to argue that if you want to do headings and use headings, you should 1.5 times bigger is kind of how to go. When we play with documents, we'll really get into that. But for right now, begin with the end in mind. And at the end of this learning experience, the introduction to design and technology, what is it that we want? What is it that you want? That's an important question. As somebody teaching something, it's not always about what I want. You know what I want more than anything else? I want you to walk away from this learning experience feeling empowered to make stuff happen, feeling that you know a little bit more than you did before, and have a level of confidence to continue learning, and a desire to continue learning, a motivation to continue learning. So what do I want? I'll tell you what I want. What I really, really want is for you to tell me what you want, because my job as an instructor, a leader, whatever you want to call it, is to align the goals of this class to your goals as much as possible, even if it's just slightly, right? If you would just slightly align here for a moment, so that I can share something with you that you're going to find valuable to help spread the word about what I'm doing, or to come back the next day, or to pay for the full class, if I'm being 100% honest here. So at the end of the day, what do we want? We want we'll get rid of that text there. We'll zoom in a little bit here as well. We want a satisfied customer. All right. And then what do we want? What do I want? I want to sell more courses, sell a course. And you want probably to be better with technology. And oops. Sorry if I'm going fast, folks. We'll be able to slow this down if you need to. And then use the design thinking process, design thinning process. There we go. So we have a few things here. 4 things. And you'll notice how I'm going to put them here up close to this, begin with the end in mind. Satisfied customer. How do I make sure that you're satisfied? Well, communication with you, understanding what you need, and making sure that I'm helping you, solving some of your problems, right? Making you a better communicator, making you a better problem solver. Sell the course. Eventually, at some point, there's got to be a link to a course somewhere that with a place you can cash at me. Be better with technology and use the design thinking process. We're gonna have to define those a little bit more. And that's probably what we'll do. Satisfied customer. Okay. How do we know if a customer is satisfied? 2 things. We can ask them through a survey, and do they continue to buy from us or attend our things? Great ways. We don't need to go too deep there, although research and data, that's part of this introduction to design and technology course. So how do we effectively collect and use data will be part of the larger course. Remember, this is just the Ask Me Anything. Sell the course, maybe get into a little bit of digital marketing when we talk about how we communicate through this big, huge internet to audiences. That might be a place where we play around again, but not for today. Be better with technology. What does that even mean for us? What does it mean? What does it mean to be better with technology? What does it mean to be better with technology? It's a great question. What does it mean to be better with technology? Now you'll notice I drew that line there, right? That line being a visual connector, even though it was underneath it. And I want to help the viewer understand what I'm talking about and where I'm going. So what does it mean to be better with technology? Connecting that to being better with technology. Duh. So you should be able to use basic computer skills. Use basic computer tools. And what would those be? Do we have a bulleted list over here? I know we could do that with, we can probably do it with the text if we go back to the little dash you do, right? It'll give us our bulleted list here. Ta-da-da. So what does it mean to be better with technology? That's a great question. I should have come prepared. I think you have to be able to use documents and spreadsheets. I don't know another way. I don't know another way to put it, folks. That feels like one of the commonalities of everything that I've done in my life has involved creating documents and using spreadsheets. I think it also means that you need to be digital. You have to be digitally literate. So what does that mean? I think it means oh, there we go. How computers store files, how the cloud works, how to access, how to use the cloud, not how the cloud works. Or is it how the cloud works? That might be a fun, yeah, how the cloud works. And I'm going to couple that with networks, basic networking. Again, not that you need to know all of the what's inside of hardware, right? Like I don't need you to know how a router is built. I don't need you to know how a modem is built. What I need you to be able to do is understand how that fits into the ecosystem of technology, hardware, and how those devices connect to each other, and the basics of the software that's used to allow you to see me on your screen right now. And again, we don't have to go super deep. I feel everyone should have this basic understanding, because the future of work is going to be done in the digital space. Yes, 1000%. I saw an ad or a LinkedIn thing the other day, building a building and something about, hey, ChatGPT, help me finish this building. Okay. I get it and I understand that. And yes, we will be laborers for a long time, especially because we can do things that robots can't yet. So even though we will be doing manual things for a long time, those manual things are hyper connected to technology things, to collecting data and providing feedback on what we're doing, right? If I'm putting a wall together, I'm using coordinates. I've got to be able to read some diagrams, probably using some laser finders to help me position things. Something goes down technology wise, I'm gonna have to help maybe fix it. I don't know. There's always exceptions to every rule, so it's hard to say this, right? But think about, like, I use this example. Domino's Little Caesars, Jets, Hungry Howie's, they're just software companies that sell pizza. At the end of the day, you look at what's driving all of their sales, all of their everything, all of their order processing, it's all software. Yes, if the software goes down, they could still make pizzas. So theoretically, actually, literally, they are pizza companies using software. But so much of what they are right now as a large organizations, right? Domino's isn't just one store on the corner. It's this global empire. It is the software that allows it to be that thing. So the more everyone in an organization knows about the basics of technology, and the better for everyone. And that's why I'm doing this. So what does it mean to be better with technology? Able to use documents and spreadsheets. You have to be digitally literate. How computers store files, how the cloud works, basic networking. Tools. Yeah. You have to be able to use not just use tools, because I think that's a little, again, we talked about a little bit earlier, right? I can teach you to use one tool. You have to be able to learn new tools. That's, I hate to say it, but that is the one thing I've realized, and sometimes hard for students to realize specifically, is at the end of any learning experience, 1 week, 1 hour, 12 weeks, 4 years, 8 years, however long you're learning something, there is no end, because there just isn't. There's new things being developed and researched and figured out every day that make things better, make us more productive as humans, make life. Is that fair to say? Yeah. I don't know. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole. But the ability to continue learning and appreciating learning, and exiting the learning experiencing, knowing that you know how to learn and continue with that subject. Best example I can give is did some work for coding boot camps back in the day, software development, JavaScript, C#, and 12 weeks, folks. 12 weeks is all people had to learn front end, which is the stuff that you see, which HTML and CSS. Everyone should have a basic understanding of HTML and CSS, because that's your introduction to how computers present information. Ooh, this is a good one. How to communicate with a computer. And I don't mean using a computer to send email. I mean how to have a communication back and forth with a piece of technology in order for you to get the results that you want. You're inputting in order to get outputs. And I lost what I was saying there, but that's okay. That's going to happen quite a bit. But I like that. How to communicate with a computer. That's technology. So what else, folks, do we have here? To be better with technology. I want to know what it means to be better with technology from those of you in my audience. Action item: throw up a LinkedIn post asking the question, what does it mean to be better with technology? All right, so we are now approximately 38 minutes into this endeavor. One thing I'm going to tell you about learning anything is that you need to take breaks. Breaks are a super, super, super important part of the learning process, because taking a break allows your brain to do the amazing things that your brain does when you get out of its way and stop shoving dumb crap in front of it. Again, there's no phone here, but you get what I'm saying. My phone's over there recording. So there are a couple techniques, two techniques specifically. Well, one scientifically proven method around taking breaks, and then another technique for taking breaks. From my research, investigation into the research, I should say, the on off when it comes to the doing of the thing to taking a break, I believe, is 52 minutes doing the thing and 17 minutes of a break. those numbers up or down depending on a whole bunch of variables. It's usually in learning experiences, depending on how heavy the topic is, how new a topic is, how much I have to talk to explain a topic versus allowing others to participate. And since I've been talking a whole lot here, I'm going to go ahead and say that everybody is probably tired of me. And at the 40-minute mark, that's probably a good time to take a break. Usually 45-15 is a good rule of thumb. But in this case, we can do, none of the stuff has been too heady. I haven't been asking you to think too much, do anything too crazy. We're going to do it like a 10-minute break. And then we will, I'm sorry. We've been on for 40 minutes. We're going to take a 10-minute break. Then we'll come back on for maybe another 40 minutes and then talk about that design thinking process. Another technique is called the Pomodoro technique. So this is something I'm going to recommend for those of you who start doing deeper, more brainy work, is to use the Pomodoro timer. So pomofocus.io. This is a really good tool for helping you to chunk out work. One of the things that I know people struggle with is when presented with an enormous task or a wicked problem is, what do you do first? And this thing is way too big. So breaking stuff into their parts and then being able to nibble on it here and there, especially when they are headier tasks, new tasks, more complex tasks. Yes, if you in a good spot and get into a zone, you're going to keep going. But if you're continuously running into things over and over again, that wears you down cognitively and your brain starts to not function as well as it can. So taking breaks is part of sharpening the saw. Hi, Stephen Covey. You'll read that in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That allows your brain to kind of reset. So Pomodoro technique, 25 minutes doing of the thing, and then you'll come in and do a long or short break. In this case, we'll just do a short break. We'll be back in 5 minutes. My advice for breaks: number 1, get out of your chair. Get up and move around. Sitting is the worst possible thing you can do for your brain and your body. Sitting for long periods of time is the absolute worst thing you can do for your brain and your body. So when you're afforded a break at a meeting, a learning experience, part of your day, getting up, whatever, get up and move. Number 2, don't shove this stupid thing in your face. Your brain has the amazing ability to process information when you let it. When you stop shoving stuff into it, all of that stuff that we've just talked about for the last 40 minutes that I probably went too fast on starts then to settle in. Even if you're not even thinking about it, like the way that your brain connects things is phenomenally amazing. A whole section of neuroscience and neurobiology that we're not going to get into, because I'd be lying if I told you I knew even anything other than that much of it. Get up, take a break, walk. Don't fill your brain with anything else. Let your brain breathe too. Let your brain break too. And even though I may not feel like looking at that thing is doing too much, it's still making your brain, as a machine, process information other than the information you actually want it to be processing, which was what we just talked about. So here we go. It is 7:43. We're going to start a 5-minute break, and I will see you back here. And there we go. Talk to you soon, folks. All right, folks, we are back. And you know what? Let's go ahead and we're just going to start this Pomodoro technique and see what happens here. This timer is going to count down for us. And again, it's me, Mike Vanderpool, back for segment number 2 of this Ask Me Anything regarding Introduction to Design and Technology. Where we left off was this diagram, being better with technology, introduction to technology, beginning with the end in mind, looking to create some satisfied users. We're going to call them users instead of customers. Hopefully we can sell a course to those users, make them customers, and become better with technology. That's where we kind of left off before the break. And one of the things I think that we want to look here, how computers store files, is a big, huge topic I could go into forever, and we're going to run into it right now with naming conventions. So think about how we name things are files. Names should be meaningful. And you know what? I'm just going to give you my rule. I'm maybe going to try to finagle it. Vanderpool's rule for how to name files and folders. Rule number 1, I should never have to open a folder or a file to know what's inside of it. The name should communicate to me what's in it. How does that help? Because then I don't have to click and open and take extra steps to figure it out, to find what I'm looking for. As a best example I can give is if you've taken any classes, and maybe you took 2 college classes, 3 college classes, 4 college classes, 5 college classes one semester. And if all of your professors labeled their syllabus, syllabus.docx or .pdf, and you downloaded those files, you would have syllabus parentheses 1, syllabus parentheses 2, 3, and so on. I would have to open each of those to know what they're called or what's actually inside for which class they refer to, instead of having a file name like syllabus VCT-103 introduction to visual communication. That way, in the file name, I know it's a syllabus, I know what class it's for, and I know what the name of that class is. Because as a instructor, VCT 103, I teach it every semester. I know what the freak that is. Somebody else might not, especially if they're taking multiple classes with those same letters there. The numbers end up being a little meaningless. Help your user understand what it is you're asking them to look at. I also use the naming convention of like kingdom, phylum, class, order, so broader to more specific, depending on a lot of things. We'll talk more about that. But when we think about how computers display the files, display folders and files, it's typically alphabetical. And that alphabetical is a form of grouping. So if we were to say syllabus as the first word in all of our files in a specific folder, then all of the files that are the syllabus would group together automatically. And we'll play with that later on. But in this case here, what is this? So it's called Introduction to Design and Technology. This really is a diagram that is the overview for the course, Introduction, Design, and Tech. Maybe you put in the oh geez, I got a degree in English. I don't even know what you call those things. Is it prepositions? The thes and the ands and the whatever else. Sometimes you don't. Now, is this file name too long? No, because it gives us a perfect amount of information for us to know exactly what this is. If I just see this file name, diagram, cool. Overview, course introduction, design technology. Now, this is a case, though, where if I think about how computers organize files and programs organize files, it might be that I want things grouped for this course all together. And in order for that to happen, I would have to then do something like this. Overview diagram and switch that up. Because now everything that is for the course introduction, design, and technology, that's all going to be grouped together. And anything that is part of the overview, because there could be a text document that would accompany this. And then the diagram, that sequencing would allow things to be grouped naturally inside of a file structure so that I don't have to necessarily always put things in folders to separate them out. Remember, a folder is just something and one more click that I have to make. Again, something that we're going to talk about a lot deeper as in the full course here. Oh, I forgot to mention, this segment brought to you by agua, water, H2O. Water everywhere, and we should be drinking more of it. Helps your brain. Think about it, how your brain thinks. Think about it, how your brain thinks. Water helps conduct all of those things, helps your skin, helps your body, helps everything. Drink more water, people. At the end of the day, please Take care of your brain, take care of your body, take care of each other, drink water, give water to your friends. So the other thing that you might have noticed here, two things. One, the use of lowercase letters, and two, the use of dashes. We'll go into that when we actually start talking a little bit about technology and files and linking to files when we build web pages, which we will be building a web page as part of the introduction to design and tech class. So just trust me for now that if I do a search for anything on my course, I can find all the things related to my course. If I do a search for design and technology, this will be one of the things that's provided in those search results. If I look for any overview diagrams or diagrams in general, boom, I could do that. The terms that we use in a file name become pseudo tags, labels for those files that are easier for us to see than labels and tags, which we will get into when we start talking about documents and document storage. So, being better with technology, how to communicate with a computer, labeling your files, naming your folders and files is one of the ways that we do that. So congratulations, you've passed day one. Now let's move on here in this last little bit. We've got, we'll probably go just, again, another few minutes. Oh, look at that, the Pomodoro. And there's my dog. The Pomodoro is counting down for us. There we go. That's kind of cool. Use the design thinking process. So the design thinking process is pretty cool. It is a sequence of steps, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of diagram it out here for you. It is idea. Everything starts with an idea. And where do we get ideas from? Where do good ideas come from? Where do any ideas come from? Even the bad ones, right? Usually through observation. So how you spell that? Observation, right? Somehow, some way we see something, somebody tells us something that's broken and we want to fix it. We've got an idea that could be better. We can make it that way. What if, right? What if we put the cheese on the underside of the pizza? We could try it, right? So we've got this idea here. And that idea usually comes from the doing of things. That idea that you sit under a tree and an apple hits you and then all of a sudden, hey, I figured this thing out and it's going to be awesome. It comes from engaging in the world. It comes from Stephen Johnson, great author. It talks about how innovation comes from play and new ideas come from playing with things. There's a lot of freedom in play. So you have an idea, you have this observation, and then you're going to end up making some assumptions. So you're going to have assumptions, you're going to have conversations, and you're going to have ideations. And really, at the end of the day, ideation. What is ideation? We're going to go ahead and think about this idea. We're going to talk to people. We're going to talk to the stakeholders. You know, I've got an idea of how we might lay out this retail store to have increased customer service time, right? Observation, I'm hanging out the store. I see that there's one door for everybody to come into and out of. And I'm like, that makes no sense because you're trying to let people, you know, just a single door, people go in both directions. It's difficult. What if we put a door over here that was the exit door? So people come in this door, go out that door. Could that speed up some of the transaction time? You know, who does that impact? Well, we don't really know until we actually start talking about the idea, maybe getting it down on paper as a way for us to see what that idea might mean. That's the one big thing with ideas. Words in the air are meaningless, folks. I could ask 20 people in the room, hey, draw me a picture of a car. You're probably going to get 20 different cars. They'll all have 4 tires, maybe, have similar features, but somebody's going to draw a Lamborghini, somebody's going to draw a Ferrari, Matchbox car, right? You never know. So the ideation is where we start to really get some things down on paper with regards to ideas and concerns and assumptions that we're making. And then all of this then become just part of testing those assumptions to see if that what if we had in this observation is right. So what if we opened an hour earlier? What might that mean? Well, that impacts a whole lot of people. Right? It's going to impact the people who get up to open the store, probably might even impact the people who clean the store if that's when they're usually cleaning. So this idea of getting stuff down on paper, talking to everybody, puts us in a position there where we have a whole bunch of information that allows us to put together a prototype. Now, the door example there might not be the best because how do you just prototype a door? But let's say we've got an app for customers to take an order from. And again, we notice that customers are abandoning their cart. 50% of customers are abandoning their cart at this point in the flow of how we want them to use the device. So we've got an assumption, an idea that what if we reduce the number of steps from 5 to 4? Okay, we could live test that for sure in our application, but there's a whole lot of things to be conscious of there. The other alternative is to get a small sample of people to test for us. And in order for them to test, they have to have that prototype. So we can build a version of that app using some tools I'm going to show you here later on in part of the full course to create that prototype. And the prototype doesn't have to be super techy. It could be cardboard, it could be paper, it could be anything and everything, how you to quickly get something into the hands of a potential user so you could see how they use the thing, right? I'm going to assume that if I put the button here, everyone will hit that button perfectly. And there's a video floating around. We'll share it. Fireflies action item. Remind me to share the video about the block thing, JavaScript developer one, the developer thing where they start crying when the blocks get put into different holes than what the developer intended, right? But we create these prototypes so we can test them. We test them because we've made a whole bunch of assumptions as part of this process. And in order for us to determine whether or not our test is successful, we're going to collect this data and we're going to compare the data, the output, the actual to what our assumptions were. And at that point, we are going to rinse and repeat over and over and over again until we're comfortable releasing a product. Now, lots more that goes into this, but that's a real good surface level, right? I've got this idea that if I open up, I've got an idea, I want to open up an ice cream store. Perfect. I want to serve these flavors of ice cream. Actually, let me back up. Let me make it something. No, that's a good one. Ice cream store. I'm going to make consumption. I'm going to serve this type of ice cream. I'm going to do all these things. Here's my menu. Here's my all of everything. Blah 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 blah. I live in a village of 5,000 people. I'm assuming that I can get 1,000 people to come to my store a week. Okay. Talk to some customers. Oh yeah, I want that. I'd buy it. Or talk to some people, potential customers. Oh yeah, I want that. Yeah, I'd love that. That'd be great. Oh, I'd be there every day. Oh, that sounds so good. Beautiful thing. Love it. Number one, don't believe anything anybody says. Believe what they do. Everyone will say they're going to give you $1, but when you ask for that $1, see how many people actually truly give you the $1. Can I have $1? If you had $1, would you give it to me? Oh yeah, no problem. Can I have $1? Well, you know, I got to go to the ATM and blah, 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 blah. Here we go. If I want to have a store and sell some ice cream, why don't I just start with a simple ice cream truck or food cart or something smaller scale, right? I don't want a full ice cream store. I got to imagine it's going to be a couple $100,000, right? But for me to open up like a little ice cream stand, maybe co-op some space from an existing business to get some people to test my flavors of ice cream, see if the assumptions I'm making are true. That would allow me to prototype and test and spend a whole lot of time in here figuring out what I'm doing until I make that larger investment. And that is fundamentally what the design thinking process is. It allows us to take an idea, play with it, fail cheaply, quickly, learn from it, and grow. This is what we're going to use as the fundamental piece of talking about design in the class, design thinking as a process versus the design of a thing, although we will get into the designs of things as well, specifically documents and other things. We will design things using the design thinking. We will create designs using the design thinking methodology. We'll also create other things using the design thinking methodology. At the end of the day, though, everything is design. It's a weird word. It's kind of like Smurf. A great tool or great tools, technological tools we will use will be interwoven in with this. Some really cool tools that I've been using. Trello as a kind of project management, get stuff done type tool. We'll be using what else is out there? We'll be using Lucid chart, kind of like we're doing right now. We'll be using presentation software. We'll be using prototyping software. And actually, I put the name in. We'll use Google Slides specifically. Just a better version of PowerPoint, if you ask me. We'll also be using, oh geez, I had it at the top of my head and then it went away. It does that every once in a while. We'll be using ChatGPT. I promise you that. What else? Other tools we'll be using as part of this class? Google Forms. Yeah. And zoom in for you can see a little bit better. What else should we use as part of this class? Back to life, back to reality. Oh geez, I had one. Man, there's so many. What do I use every day? That honestly might be a good enough introduction, right? We'll use Lucid charts for kind of how we architect things, what we're doing right now. We'll use Google Slides for how we plan things. Oh, that's right, Figma. That's another great one. And Canva. Oh my goodness, got to talk about Canva. So Trello, we're going to talk about for project management. Lucid chart, we'll talk about and use for architecture. Google Slides, we'll use for presenting and also prototyping some ideas. ChatGPT, we're going to use for generating text. Google Forms, we're going to use for collecting information. Figma, we're going to use for prototyping. And Canva, we're going to use for graphic design purposes. So we will talk about design principles, graphic design principles. Again, design is a weird word, folks, at this point. But that will be, can I do something like this? Can I do something like this? Oops, not that one. I'm going to go ahead and this is, again, kind of a digital literacy thing, right? How do we use tools, this rotate feature by hovering the corner? I know that instinctively because I've used the Adobe products for a long time, and that's a native part of some of those tools. I'm going to come in here and I can stretch this out like that, stretch this out like that, and bingo, bango, bongo, as my great, wonderful, not great grandma, but she was a great grandma, but not my great grandma, just my regular grandma. Sally used to say, bingo, bango, bingo, bango, bongo, pansy, poppy, primrose. There we go. There we go. Use the design thinking process. That is this here. And we don't want it to, oh, how do we want to do that? There we go. We can do something like that, right? Why not? That looks okay. So if we're going to talk about what this class does, this class is going to help you be better with technology and to use the design thinking process as a way to solve problems creatively. Maybe not even creatively, but probably creatively. We're going to dig into technology, the use of documents, getting the most out of things like Google Docs and Microsoft Word, and that'll lead us into version control, which helps us to keep our stuff organized and be able to see the history of how documents evolve over time. We'll get into the basics of Excel. We're not going to do anything too crazy when it comes to like pivot tables and stuff like that. That's a much deeper course. But when it comes to like building some graphs and starting to play with data, that's definitely the place to start will be Excel. lot of this then we'll talk about digital literacy and what that actually means. You know what? Let's do this. We got 5 minutes left. This might be interesting. So open AI, Chat GPT. If you haven't used it, folks, just start playing with it. I've got a newsletter up on LinkedIn. I do conversations with AI where I just start talking, say, hi, how are you? He's going to say, or it's going to say, I don't have feelings or emotions. It says that every single time. Doesn't really learn yet. What does it mean to be digitally literate? Please provide in a list. Basic computer skills, perfect. Internet navigation, perfect. Online communication, so being able to use some of these digital tools, emails. I'm going to teach you how to write emails, folks. Nobody's ever probably done that the right way, and I can tell you this: email is a miserable experience for many people. I've had bosses with 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 open emails. There's a better way to email people, and I'm going to show you how. Information literacy, to evaluate and critically analyze information from digital sources. That's huge. That is what we should be teaching our kids more than anything else. And we'll do a little bit of that as we look for resources as well. Digital security. This is important. I remember when my daughter, what did she do? She wanted to do something. Oh, she wanted to start a YouTube channel, and I made her read the YouTube end user license agreement, just for so she knew what it was, and maybe not all the nuts and bolts of it, but that they were collecting and had access to her information, her data. Digital citizenship. Ooh, yeah, that's another one. Ethical and responsible behavior online. It's a good one. Media literacy. That's going to become even more important as this generative imagery. It was a mess before with Photoshop and just retouching of photos. Now, you didn't know what was real before. You definitely don't know what's real now. Digital tools, yep. So word processing, spreadsheets, project management, yep. All those online collaboration tools, yep. Problem solving, yeah. So when things go caca, I think that's the phrase from one of my favorite shows, Quantum Leap. The original with Dean Stockwell and Scott Bakula was really, really good. The new one, I appreciate what they were trying to do. It got a little wonky at the end. No spoilers. And continuous learning. So how to embrace a mindset of continuous learning and staying updated with technology. So yeah, digital literacy. We're going to be doing that in this class as well. And thank you, Chat GPT, from saving me from having to write all of that. 59 seconds left. Countdown. I sing, I dance. So if you don't like any of that, don't come to my class, please. I'm going to go on tangents. I'm going to rant. I'm going to do all that type of stuff. It's just part of who I am, part of how I like to teach. Deal with it. Or don't. It'll all come out on the date of whether or not I can sell a course. Yeah. So that's it, folks. That is that's what this thing I'm putting together is. Introduction to Design and Technology. It doesn't matter what field you want to go into. It doesn't matter what age you are. Probably matters what level of experience you have. This is not going to be for people who are smarter than me when it comes to using computers. Honestly, though, I think there's some things I could... Well, number one, I hope people smarter than me show up, because then I can learn from them. But it will hopefully, my assumption, right? I have this idea that people will need to know more about, and from my observation, from me as a teacher, from somebody who's taught visual communication, taught web design, taught a whole bunch of stuff to high school kids and people who should know more about technology, but they don't. That's a bigger conversation. My observations is that our people are not prepared for the future of work. And part of my mission is to help with that. So this idea, what we did today, was kind of the ideation session, right? This was a little bit of a sketch that we've thrown together here based on talking to myself. And then this what I put out from this ends up becoming a prototype that we'll use for the next class. It's going to be tested, and hopefully there'll be a couple people I can bounce some ideas off of there. That test then will be something that provides us information. We'll come back, rinse, repeat, do this 4 more times. And then at the end of the 4th time, the class will be ready to launch, and it will be an amazing experience for everyone involved. And we will all learn and grow together, because at the end of the day, that's all we can do, folks, as humans on this ball spinning through the universe. Help each other learn and grow. Be good to each other. Take care of each other. Take care of ourselves. Drink more water. And at the end of the day, live long and prosper. Nanu, nanu.